Okay, let's keep moving. Let's help parents move from screen worried to screen wise. You know, screen time once meant one child watching one TV. Little Chip sitting in front of Saturday morning cartoons, glued to the screen. We even use that word, right? Glued to the screen. And somehow I came out the other end reasonably well, I think. But children live in a multi-screen world today. There's screens everywhere. We have to think about this differently. Back to David Kleeman's opening quote. Screen time has increased during shelter in place. It's inarguable. There's no point in really fussing with that. It has. Kids are using screens more, and you know, they actually have to use them more to engage with you during remote learning. So that's that notion of what are kids doing on screens with you for remote learning? What are they using them for recreationally, to have some fun, to stay connected, do all these other things? We have to pay attention. Time is a metric. It doesn't matter how many minutes the child spends looking at a screen or reading a book or playing outside or anything else in their lives. Too much is too much of anything, right? But time isn't the only metric, and that's the key here. And this is what you can help parents understand. Shift from how much they're watching to what they're watching. What's the content on the screen? What's the plus side of the remote learning experience, right? And then look for the 3 C's. My colleague Lisa Guernsey came up with this, and it's really powerful, simple and powerful. What's the content on the screen? What's the context in which the child's using technology? And what's the individual child's needs, interests, abilities, learning styles all about? The 3 C's. If you ask yourself that question, content, context, child, it'll get you started. It'll get you deeply into making good decisions about whether what the child's doing right now or is wanting to do is okay and is positive and educational. Screen time can be good, bad, or both. There's that, you know, it's not either or. It's not all good or all bad. Sometimes it feels like it's both. It can feel like a blessing and a curse, not just a blessing, not just a curse. So here's to help parents again. Don't feel guilty. This pandemic is more complicated than any of us ever imagined. Don't be worrying about counting minutes right now on screen time. Go back to the 3 C's. Try to mediate the quality of kids' screen experience, but you know, also survive. And you need to survive, and you need to work from home, and you need to take care of everybody. This is not the time to get overly worried about that. Encourage video chat with family members and friends. Screens as lifelines again. Choose good content. What's age appropriate? What's interactive, engaging. You can see the other characteristics that I've listed here that we've talked about already. But that your ability to help a parent make choices about content is really valuable as a media mentor. Co-view programs and co-play games with their child. Here's a thought. What if we could encourage parents to just press pause on their own device once a day for 15 minutes and sit down and engage with their child? Talk about what's happening on the screen, have the child show them how to play, plan for unplugged time, real world playtime extends the learning from the screens, all of these things, a little bit of joint engagement. And some days we won't even have the 15 minutes. And that's okay. It's all right, right? It's not a set in stone rule, but it's a nudge, a positive nudge toward find some time to engage around the screen with your child. It's going to be better for everybody. Set limits and promote time away from the screens. And I talked about that when I began. It is okay to say only so much screen time and at the same time promote what you're going to do when you're not on the screen as very positive. That's a good thing. Not all screens are created equal. So again, you see the images on the screen right now. Lots of different ways that kids interact with technology, from a digital camera to a digital microscope, to being gathered around the laptop, to watching a screen, to using technology that's not screen-based at all, to talking to Alexa or Siri on a device. This one's just quick kind of visual for you, this notion of balanced diet that I mentioned before and knowing when you're full. And what I really want to point out on this is this last one at the bottom, leave a little room for junk food, is a nod back to parents that, you know, we all have potato chips sometimes, or have fast food sometimes, or whatever. It's okay. Across a healthy diet, a little bit of that's fine, and a little bit of screen time that feels a little meaningless and a little, you know, recreational and not educational is okay too. Here's a nudge from a colleague of mine, Anya. Enjoy screens, not too much, mostly with others. That's really simple and really powerful. Yes, do use your screens. Yes, do enjoy them. But, you know, with mediation, moderation, and then mostly in a context of relationships. Michael Rich, the mediatrician we call him from Boston Children's Hospital, says this: our focus should be on living well with media rather than opposing or restricting it. living well with media. As a media mentor, encouraging parents to think about living well with media and what that means and how well they're living with media right at the moment is a really positive thing. And it will be different in every home. Every child that's in your classrooms, there as they go home, there'll be a different definition of that. That's great. I don't want a cookie cutter definition. I don't want a prescription, right? I want families to figure this out. But that notion, that nudge we can give them around living well with media is really important. Help parents put what we know so far into action. So we talked about joint engagement. We talked about language learning. We talked about social and emotional learning. You can help parents put the things that we have identified as evidence and consensus-based benefits of technology into their interactions with their kids. Again, avoiding displacement, focusing on enhancement, physical activity and sedentary behavior. Yes, we are concerned. So how do we get kids up and moving more? How do we use technology to get them to go up and take a nature walk outside if that's what we have to do? Worrying about sleep disruptions is real, and we need to help kids manage their screen use before they go to bed. And again, back to family well-being and this idea that we strive for balance, but balance isn't 50-50, and balance is exhausting for families to try to achieve. We have to be respectful of that. It takes a lot of work to find some kind of balance and hold it, especially during the pandemic. We want to minimize the risks and maximize the potential. So one more little pause here for you. The role of media mentors to guide children, parents, and families. So a couple of prompts here for you to think about around what's been going on, what the pandemic has done, and where we're headed next. Again, I'll give you a moment or two to reflect on that, and then we'll be right back.